Janice and I'm with My Girlfriend's Quilt Shop, and I'm going to show you some special tips on how to make the Appalachian Baby Afghan. So the first thing that I wanted you to understand is that on the pattern, there's a couple little tricky steps in here, but first off, I want to show you what the abbreviations mean right here. Abbreviations will be the same in any knit kit or knit pattern that you have. So we have bind off, we have CO for cast on, we have knit for the knit stitch, M for markers, PMs for place markers, P for purl, repeat, REP, right side is RS, and wrong side is WS, and then we have small slip markers. These are the abbreviations that you're going to see in this pattern, and you just want to be aware of when they're calling for them. When you start out on making an Afghan, you want to do a swatch at first, and you'll cast on about 15-20 stitches, and you'll knit about 15-20 rows. That way you can get the exact gauge of what you need on these on your pattern. So when it calls for the pattern that the finished product will be 50 by 50, then you know that the swatch that you're going to have will make that same gauge. In here, they're calling for the gauge to be 18 inches by 25 rows, should be a 4-inch square. So if it's smaller than that, then you want to go to a larger needle. If it's bigger than that, then you can come down to a smaller needle. This pattern calls for a size 6, but a size 7 knitting needle is just as great. And it also depends on if you are a tight knitter or if you're a loose knitter. That will also help you determine the size needle that you want to have when you're doing this. Other things that you're going to want to have are the stitch markers right here, the slip markers. You're going to use these because you're going to put those where you're going to do your seed stitch, so you keep track of that. You're going to cast on 150 cast-ons on this project. So to keep yourself in count of where you are, I say cast on 25 stitches and then put in one of the slip markers, and then count another 25 cast-ons and put another slip marker in. Then you don't have to keep going back and recounting the cast-ons that you've done, and you can keep track of them. In this pattern that they've given you on this Afghan, it will start out with the instructions. It will say, do your seed stitch border, do your basket weave section, do your garter stitch section, then do your zigzag rib section. So it will tell you the sections what to do. I have two things that I really want you to pay close attention to. In this pattern, you're going to do this seed stitch right here for 7 rows, but at the beginning of each other row, you're going to do 5 seed stitches at the beginning of the row and 5 seed stitches at the end of each row. That's where your markers come in very handy. So after you've done the first 5 seed stitches, you're going to put a marker, you're just going to slip it on your needle right here when you've done those first 5 stitches. Then you're going to complete your row, and when you get to the last 5 stitches, you're going to put another marker on so that you know when you're going through this Afghan that that's where you're going to change back to the seed stitches. The second important thing is in the section of the zigzag rib, on the right side, when you start knitting the seed stitch, instead of doing 5, you're going to move your marker back 1 stitch to the right. So you're only going to knit 4 seed stitch, and then you're going to go into the row, but the end of the row is still going to end with the 5 seed stitches. So when you turn it over and you're coming back, you're going to have just that one side that will have the 4 seed stitches. That is only in the zigzag rib section. When you finish that section and you're going into your garter stitch section, you move it back again to the left 1 stitch, so now you're doing the 5 seed stitches. Over here on the back side, it's going to tell you how to make those stitches. It's going to show you each row, and you want to make sure that when you do the seed stitch, you're starting out with the wrong side. So when you do the seed stitch and you start the wrong side, put a slip marker, one of these little slip markers, put that on the wrong side so you'll always know which side is the wrong side versus the right side. So you're going to do your seed stitch, and it's going to show you exactly how to do that here. The garter stitch, it will tell you how you're going to do your garter stitch and so forth. I'm going to explain the graft also, because when you read a knitting pattern, you don't read a knitting pattern the same way as you would read a crochet pattern or a cross stitch pattern. What you do is you start from the lower right-hand corner with row 1, and you read from the right to the left, and then you move up a row and you read from the left to the right and moving up your graft pattern that way. Another thing to be aware of is that it will tell you right here, it will give you a little chart, that if you're working on the wrong side, and we're going to work with this right here. Right side is purl with the black dot, but the wrong side is knit with the black dot. So as you're coming across this pattern, you are purl, knit, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. But when you come this way, the white square becomes purl. So now you purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. That's why making a graph like this, laying out, so you put it into your head, this is what it's going to be, so you can get that routine back into your head. Okay, that helps explain this pattern, and we're good for today.